Oh yeah,
Nice
sorry
to meet you.
sorry, but it's a Saturday. It's not great, is it? But I'm a full-time
No,
teacher,
Saturday is
so I
fine.
can't do anything.
I'm in the studio anyway, so that's all fine.
Oh,
How do you
that's
pronounce your first name? Alicia?
It's Alicia, but Alicia. I go by Alicia.
Alicia is fine.
That's fine. So I'm here on behalf of Nasza Księgarnia Publishing, and they just asked me if I would be able to do this, and I said I really love to do this because this is great. I mean,
Okay.
opportunity you don't pass, really. So first and foremost, congratulations on your Game of the Year awards in Poland. I don't know if you're aware, you've received 2 for El Dorado and for the Castle Carcassonne.
Of course, I'm aware and I'm very pleased, and thank you for the congratulations, which is of course always to 2 parties, one to the designer, which is me, but also to the publisher, NK, because the game will only come into existence when we have a good concept and design, and when we have a good publisher who does the graphics and the production and brings it to market.
Of course.
And of course, foremost, the success is then only down to the 3rd party, which is the players.
That's correct, and we do enjoy both of those games, and I was one of the people who were actually voting for the games, and I need to say yes, I did vote for both of them because we do really enjoy them. And is it really often that you receive awards in many categories, or is it always just 1 or 2?
At the same time, I won 2 categories in Holland, which was also El Dorado and which was the card game Llama. So sometimes you're very lucky and you get more, and sometimes you're unlucky and get nothing. And that doesn't mean you're good or you're bad. It's just, it averages out. And I'm very happy about awards because they show that the games bring enjoyment to the people, and that's what I want to do.
Oh, that's great. And obviously you've designed so many games. This is absolutely amazing. And but there's the older games like Carcassonne the Castle is 2003, if I'm correct. And it came out in Poland with a new graphics, and it's all a bit different than the other version when it comes to that, but it's very popular, as you obviously know. Is it available in any other countries?
So as we are now talking about the castle or building the town, I will need to be careful.
That's brilliant.
Having our security in place when we build the castle. I mean, first of all, the game is designed as a 2-player game, and in the ZAMKU, I think you say, yes?
ZAMKU, yeah.
Version, it is only available in Poland because it's a Polish title and it's a new Polish graphics. And so I'm particularly pleased that NK took the opportunity to bring the game to the market there. So we have taken it away from not away, but we have separated it from the Carcassonne brand. And thanks to Klaus-Jürgen Brede and Hans im Glück, we have the permission to use it without the brand. And so we made a nice game out of it. And I hope a lot of people will enjoy it because I think it integrates the scoring very nicely with the tiles, because you have the wall going around the city or the castle. And so it's very natural that you take the counting along the wall.
I must admit that I used that game to get my dad into board games, and it's language independent as well, which is great because my dad only speaks Polish and me and my partner both speak English, so it's really hard to sort of get us to play with my parents. But if it's just a 2-player game, then I can play easily, or he can play with my dad because there is no language involved. And do you take language dependency into consideration when you're designing games, or is it sort of a side topic?
No, it is a big topic because, you know, when I design a game, when a designer creates a piece of art which can be multiplied, then of course it's a big time and investment. And so I'm of course trying to bring that to many markets. And if you have a language dependence, it makes it much, much harder to bring it to different markets, particularly if one publisher wants to carry it in many languages, then they have to adapt everything. And so whenever I can, I try to make it language independent because in a way, my style, I'm more the scientist. And so my style of designing is anyway to bring the game down to some very clear, fundamental, natural principles, and then essentially have these basic rules establish a platform for the players on which they can go and where they can bring in their own personality. And that works best without being, so to speak, guided by more rules and by more text and so on. Yes.
I really appreciate that. That's really good, because lots of the games, they're really good games out there, but there's so many rules and there need to be clarifications and FAQs, and we've never had problems with these games because they're just really simple, but really, really good. They make you think, and it's not about the rules and the complexity of them. It's just about everything that's happening in your head on how you're going to play the game and get the thing going. So yeah, that's great. That's really, really good. I really like it. But now to El Dorado. So
El
it has been
Dorado, we are
awarded,
going to the jungle, yes.
Oh, you've got a different hat.
Well, so for the jungle, we need a different hat.
Oh
yes.
my God, I'm so not prepared for this. This is great.
Up a bit because my face is very dark. Okay.
Matches your bow tie as well. Yeah.
Yes,
brilliant.
of course, we're going to the jungle. And,
going in the jungle. So that goes.
El Dorado, we'll find the gold. Yes.
There we go. You've got one. I've got the other version. I've got the golden temples behind me.
Oh, you have. This is not the Polish edition. I have them.
That's not the Polish. Oh, look at that.
Yes,
there we go. Yeah, I get the English ones.
El Dorado. Yes, we are ready to go into the jungle.
Into the jungle we venture. So that got the award for family weight game, which is brilliant.
Yes.
That's completely agree. So that's a brilliant family weight game, and not only in Poland, but I have a list because I couldn't memorize this. Sweden, Spain, Italy, nominated in Germany, Netherlands, and Denmark.
They also won in the Netherlands.
There we go. Yes. So oh my gosh, this is a lot of awards for this one game, which is like, it also puts it in the spotlight. Like, it's what is about this game that makes people think, why would we award this game the best family weight game? And everyone says that this is your best game over the last 10 years, let's say. Would you agree? It's a weird question, but
this is certainly one which caused a lot of attention and a lot of recognition, but it very much depends on the desire of the players. This is a family game that's actually quite a high-level family game. We have a number of different games, and some of them stand out, but what is the best one, what is the most recognized one, what is the most successful one, is really to be judged by the players and by the critics and not by me. But again, in a way, I put a lot of effort into this game to make it successful, because when you look at different trends over the years, I've been in the industry for quite a while, and I'm taking this hat down because it makes my face dark, and I'm not such a dark guy.
You got the bow tie, that's fine.
Yes, and you know, there are different trends and there are different developments, because games are really a mirror of our time, and our times today are different than 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So if I look at new trends, of course, my ambition would be that I initiate all the new trends and influence the whole market. This is too big an ambition because there are many brilliant designers around. So sometimes I have to take second fiddle and I look at some great trend like deck building. And of course, El Dorado is a deck building game, and I'll explain in a second what it is for those viewers who might not know. Because when I initially played the first really successful deck building game, which is an ingenious development, it is Dominion. And I had problems getting into this game because it was building an abstract mechanism with the cards, and I have a deck, and then I get new cards, and the cards go out, and I'm building this machine, but I couldn't grasp it. Mm-hmm. So I thought, if it takes me, with quite some game experience, such a time to get into it, isn't there an opportunity to take this brilliant concept of deck building games, and there are many, many deck building games out there at the moment, and make it available for the family? And so what is a deck building game? Sorry that I'm taking over your one question now. What is a deck building game? A deck building game is a game where each player has their own card deck. And you shuffle the cards and have a few in your hand, and you play them, and then you take new cards, and then you play these. But that's the deck. But what's the building part? The building part is that I change my deck while I play. That means I take some cards in and some cards out. And this is not easy to understand why and what I'm doing, unless, as we do it in El Dorado, we introduce a big map in the race to the gold. Yeah. Because then it becomes all very natural. I am going through the jungle, very start. So we race along the jungle, I have a machete and I get my way through there. It's a good deck and I have a strong deck, I can advance very quickly. And then comes the river. Yes, so I hit it with my machete, but it doesn't help. So it's quite clear I need a boat. So if I had thought ahead a little bit, I made sure that I get 1 or 2 boat cards into my deck so that I can cross the river. And after the river comes the desert. And so it's hot and I go along and I need to use the cars and so on. And the machete is heavy. And then I say, why am I still carrying this boat in the desert? And so it becomes very clear, I want to get rid of the boat cards again, but then I need maybe water cards or something that helps me in the desert. Maybe a jeep, even better, yes? And so it becomes very natural because of the board and because of the competition, what people want to do with their deck. And that's, I believe, opening the door of deck building to many more people. And I think I have succeeded in a way because the awards show that it reaches a lot of people who vote for the award.
Oh, you definitely did. And it really helps that it's got a board as well, as you say. It's not just the cards itself. It actually, something is happening and you understand why you need these cards to do certain things. It's not just plain cards on the table and nothing else. And this is brilliant. You can actually move your meeples. It's a real race. It's great. Like, really love it. And it's got a lot of recognition in the world. And it's a really, really great game.
Thank you. And of course, just one more sentence. If we already built our deck, we might as well build the track as well. So we don't have one fixed board, as you know, but we have lots of little boards which we put together. And so every time the racetrack or the challenge is different, that's important because that means every time I play the game, I need to build my deck differently. So there's not a fixed one. Okay, I always take this first and then I throw this out. No, not so clear. Sometimes the river comes early. Sometimes the river is a big lake, comes late. And so I need to adjust.
Exactly, and that adds the replayability, and every time we play it's different. We might mix and match with all the expansions as well. Is brilliant. And my question was, what was the reasoning behind changing the graphics in the game for the Polish version? Is there a reason for that?
Yes, there is a technical reason to this. So the technical reason is the game was first published by a different publisher in Germany. They did not want to cover the whole world, and they did not want to share the graphics. They commissioned the graphics. Okay. And they said, no, it's our graphics and we want to have our recognition of the game, and we do not want other publishers to carry this recognizable graphics. And so that was a pity, but of course they were completely entitled to do that and they had their reasons for it. So I thought, what can we do now? And I said, okay, then I'll make a competition out of this. The original graphic was done by Franz Vorwinkel, who is very, very recognized in the industry. And I said, who else is very much in favor and does brilliant things? So we came to Vincent Dutré. I said, well, I'm going to commission this graphics because there's a lot of graphics there. And if I approach people in smaller markets, then they will not be able to do it. And why should every market, Sweden and Brazil and Poland, do their own graphics? It's not efficient. So for the first time in my career, I have actually commissioned graphics. And I said, I need somebody who is experienced. And that was Vincent Dutré. And I said, I'll set these two big people up against each other and let Vincent show that he can do better in inverted commas than the original graphics. Of course, we also decided, which I think was a big step, to go from the small cards initially to the big standard cards. And of course, that gave Vincent much more room to put his brilliant graphics on there. So that was a technical reason. It made things not easier, but now we have a wonderful graphics. And now, because I, in inverted commas, control the graphics, I can make now the game available to many of the different countries where we have won.
And are you planning on to? Are there any different countries that have the same graphics as Polish version?
Oh yes, there are many countries there. There's Sweden, Holland, Finland, Norway, Denmark, Brazil. I'm forgetting some now.
That's impressive anyway.
And no, and Korea, and Japan. So we really got the whole continent, the whole world, not only the continent going. And for those whom I have forgotten, forgive me. There are a few more.
Don't want to put you on the spot. I also don't have the full list. So hey, so I had a bit of fun of putting the collection of El Dorado together. So I've got the base game in English, the expansion in French, and another expansion in German. So because of the language independency, it sort of works anyway. The symbols on the cards are really easy and the rules are available online. So every single version is different. Is there any potential for more expansions for El Dorado?
Well, I assume that NK have already revealed their first plan about an expansion. So because I'm very careful, I want to leave the announcement or new releases to the publishers. They have the marketing, they know what to do. But absolutely. I assume it's no longer a secret that NK will be doing a expansion to this game. And incidentally, we have actually, in the Corona times now, booked a Zoom conference for next week.
Oh, okay.
Further expansions, because I have worked out 2 more completely new and yet unpublished expansions, which I think the game in quite nice directions, and so we will see how we will do this and do the graphics again and fit everything into the new design of the new graphics. That's
really exciting.
So yes, we don't want to overload the market, but I think after the first expansion, there are 2 or 3 ways where we can go, and we'll see if we put them all into one larger box or if we have little expansions. That's a decision of the publisher, and I hope that when maybe Poland takes the lead, that other publishers will also come on board, and we'll even reach more people than the big Polish nation.
Absolutely. And obviously it's Vincent Dutrey who's going to be doing the graphics as well for the Polish version of the expansion.
Everything will fit together, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any input into the graphics?
Well, usually the graphics is done by the publishers, and so I would just look at the graphics from a functional point of view, because sometimes the artist becomes carried away in his own, so to speak, realm, and makes the board very, very colorful, and it's nice to look at, but you can't play on it because you can't see the pieces.
Yeah.
So that's what I check, that it's really good playable and that the different spaces work together nicely. With Vincent, because I commissioned the graphics, it was a little bit more tricky, but I had already got the first candidates to license, and therefore I involved these partners a bit. But of course, if you have too many cooks, then you spoil the broth. So Vincent had really great freedom to do it. And that's again why I chose somebody who is very experienced, because then I knew he would know everything about the graphics design and the arrangement and get it into the printers, where I have very little experience.
That makes sense. So on topic of revamping games, because obviously changing the graphics is a big deal for a game if you're revamping it. In Poland, there are another 2 games that have been revamped, your games, obviously. It's the Leaping the Lily Pads and Weedle. I don't know if you expected those games to be bestsellers in Poland, because they are quite popular.
I've always great expectations, but I'm also always a realist, that I say some of the games make it on specific markets, and some of the games, for whatever reasons, do not get into the limelight and therefore are not picked up that much. That's not always a point of the quality, of course. In hindsight, when a game is successful, you can always explain why it is. The marketing people are very great on this, but when they want to explain something into the future, it gets much harder. So the Polish market is great at the moment, because it's a growing market. The Polish people are really waking up to, there's a monster coming in.
Yes, there is my cat joining the conversation here, sorry.
Hello. The market is growing, the market gets more sophisticated, a lot of publishers joining in, a lot of gamers are joining in, and so it becomes a very rich paradise for players, as we had it in Germany maybe 10, 15 years ago. I mean, it's not being early or being later, it's just enjoying the time where it really grows and where the games become a central part of the family.
There's going to be two last questions from me at the very end, just plainly from me. So you obviously designed so many games with so many different themes and mechanics. What is it that comes to you first? Is it the mechanics or is it the theme?
Yeah. When I started a long time ago to design games, I was always inspired by the theme. I saw something and I couldn't find the right game for it. Or when I was very young, I didn't have the pocket money to buy all the games. Or I just couldn't reach it because it was pre-internet time even, very, very stone age. And so that fascinated me and that inspired me, and I researched about it. I read books, I looked at maps, and then whatever the topic was, I made it into a game. Now, of course, I'm a professional game designer. So my ambition is to be innovative. And I have really learned that game design is not a science. It's not something where you have a tick list and say, step number 1 is this, start with that, step number 2 is this, and so. Because if you always start at the same corner and then trample along the same methodology, the same path, then you should not be surprised that you always come out at the same end and you want to do something new. So for me, therefore, to answer your question, it has become very important not to have the same starting point, but to always find a new entry point into the new game. Because it sounds trivial, but for me, it was a deep understanding of saying, when I start with something really new, with really something that has potential, then I have the best chance to come out with something new. And so it can come from new production possibilities, which are now affordable to go into games. It can come from a new trend where there is a strong license, a strong movie, a strong book series there, where you say, okay, can I not put the character into the game? Of course, it can come from new materials. Many, many influences, because it comes back to the same thing. Games are a mirror of our time. And therefore, it's always keeping eyes open and see what is relevant for people today. And have this as a starting point, because if you do something which nobody's interested in, then how can the game be successful? Yes? And so what's relevant, not only with respect to themes, but also with respect to what's in with respect to game types. We are now talking about legacy games, we're talking deck building games. A while ago, we had all the quiz games. Sometimes it's just random how a trend starts, because you have one successful game and everybody jumps on the bandwagon. Yes. So, new entry point, best opportunity for new games.
That's okay. That's a great advice to all the designers out there, really. And last question is, what is your favorite mechanic? Since you have deck buildings and legacy and tile laying in all your games, what's your favorite, your personal favorite?
I have no favorite mechanics, and it comes exactly from what I said in the last answer. I am not trying to become a master of one game or of one mechanics or of one trend. I'm trying to keep the breadth of the width of the different designs, from children games to easy card games to relatively deep gamers games. I don't do the 3-4 hour games, but some of them are playing. But I don't have a favorite mechanism, because I'm trying always to find the new ones. And also, there's also the deeper understanding that games are nothing absolute. At least for me, it's not. The more games you know, the more you understand that it's the right game for the right people, for the right mood and the right atmosphere. And so there is not one favorite game, and there's not one favorite mechanism. Sometimes it's a small card game, sometimes it's a deeper game. And the enjoyment essentially comes not from the game, it comes from playing with other people. And finding the right game for the right people is my favorite job.
I like how very philosophical it is. I've studied philosophy, and it sort of goes into my sort of thinking. Is great. So I'm really happy that you spared some time for me to talk about the games and your awards. And on behalf of NK Publishing, I'm really, really grateful we could have this conversation.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure, and just enjoy the games. Hello to all the fans in Poland. Keep playing, keep healthy, and enjoy all the good days of playing.
And you, stay safe.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.